And these are some great verses. What this is going to do, the Bible is almost always structured like this. It starts off telling you how to be saved. So Ephesians 2:8-9, by grace you're saved through faith, that not of yourself, it's a gift of God, not of works, no man can boast. And so that's what the first part of Ephesians is about. Ephesians 4, starting in verse 17, it is just crystal clear. Now this is how you need to live. This is what you need to do. It doesn't start here. You don't just start by telling somebody, you need to do this and do this, change this, change this, change this. Until a person understands and believes the gospel, they're not going to change like they need to. So, but now he's going to tell them, this is how you need to live your life. This is what your life needs to look like. Specifics. And so I don't know how far we're going to get. I'm going to try to keep this short. He's going to, verses 17 through 19 are going to explain. I got ink all over my hands. What's wrong with people, why people don't live right. Then verses 20 through 24 explain what big changes need to happen. And then 25 through 32, he gets down to specifics. And so we'll read verses 17 through 19 to start off and talk about it. Paul says this. This I say, therefore, and testify in the Lord, that you should no longer walk as the rest of the Gentiles walk, in the futility of their mind, having their understanding darkened, being alienated from the life of God because of the ignorance that is in them, because of the blindness of their heart, who being past feeling have given themselves over to lewdness, to work all uncleanness with greediness. So Paul just went to town right there just explaining what's wrong with people. That's like an awful description of what he's saying is the way people live and what's going on with them. And he just starts off in verse 17. That's a great verse. I'm telling you, I'm testifying that you should no longer walk as the Gentiles walk. See, there's a way that people in the world walk. There's a way they live. And what he's telling them, just to put it in the simplest terms we can put it in, you cannot live like the rest of the people live in the world who are not followers of Jesus. You cannot walk like they walk. You cannot act and talk and think and be like them. It goes back, I was thinking about it today, Ephesians 2:2, he says, in which you once walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of air, the spirit who now works in the sons of disobedience. You walk according to the course of the world. You just go with the world. You go with the flow. You act like everybody else acts. And that's why I don't care if you talk about teenagers or people and kids in college. You can go to any high school and the kids act very similar. You go to any college campus, you got the same things going on. That's the way the world operates. People live a certain way. But Paul said you cannot walk like that anymore. You're not going to walk like they walk. You're not going to do what they do. You cannot do that if you're going to follow Jesus. You're not going to walk like unbelievers walk. Okay, so that's a simple instruction. Verse 18, he gets into what is wrong with unbelievers. And this is pretty helpful. Or he says at the end of verse 17, in the futility of their mind. That means their mind does not function right. They don't think right. And he goes on in verse 18 explaining this. Having their understanding darkened, being alienated from the life of God because of the ignorance that is in them, because of the blindness of their heart. So he's describing what people, the way people are. And he says their minds are futile. Their minds don't work right. Their understanding is darkened. Their heart is blind. I was just thinking a minute ago I could do this tonight. If you want to know what sinful people in the world, how they live their life, if we cut the lights off in here, that's what they see. They don't see clearly. They can't see good. So what does that mean? Their understanding is darkened. It's like if we just dim these lights to where you could barely see anything. That means they barely see. Their heart is blind. Their mind does not function. Okay, that's a very vivid description. What's he trying to say? These people do not think or see or understand the truth. So they don't know the truth about God. They don't see God as good. They don't see Jesus as the good shepherd. They don't see sin as being evil and wicked. They don't see sin as leading to corruption and it's deceitful and it brings harm and it brings chaos into their own life. They don't see the path of righteousness as the better path. They don't understand every good path. They don't see anything clearly. The Bible says, what are those who call good evil and evil good, who put light for dark, dark for light, sweet for bitter, and bitter for sweet? They don't see it correctly. It's like, how are you going to make a good choice if you just reach your hand in the refrigerator and try to pick out something to eat? I want to see it to make a good choice. Y'all like to see? I mean, there's a lot in the refrigerator because you got to see, don't you, Bo? We don't just reach in there and grab something and say, this is for supper. Okay, you got to see. People do not see. And you know what the reality is? And I'll say this. I think it's helpful to understand this. We're not going to get very far tonight. That's okay. People really think they're right about things. Like, people really don't see it. You know, I'll go back to politics is big right now. People really think abortion is okay. They actually see it that way. No, I don't see it that way. People think it's okay to marry somebody that's the same sex as you. That it's okay for they don't see that it's wrong. They really don't see that. Okay? So you got a problem here. That's what Paul's saying. You can't walk like sinners walk. Their mind doesn't even work right. They can't even see. They're walking around blind as a bat to spiritual realities. So that's the world in which we live. I'll tell you this. I like this illustration. I saw it on some notes I was looking back at. What is Hudson doing? Oh, it's tying a shoe. I was going to tell a story about you and you weren't there. One time Hudson did this. It's still on my car. I see it every once in a while. Yep. He took a rock. Was it a rock?
Yeah, it's a sharp rock.
A sharp rock and carved his name in the side of the car.
Oh.
How old were you then, probably? 5, 6. I guess he just learned to write his name. But it wasn't hard for me to figure out who did that. And you know what? Here's what I remember saying this. What were you thinking? You wrote your own name. You should have wrote Tucker or Ace.
I never wrote my name.
Yeah, I know. But you know what the reality is? This is what I always say about that. You know what he was thinking? He wasn't thinking. You know what he just thought? I want to write my name right here. I'm not even thinking about, is this a good idea? Is this right? Is this wrong? What are the consequences? You know what? My mind is futile. People do things. You say, what are they thinking? I tell you what they're thinking. They're not even thinking. They don't even see. They're not that. So what Paul's saying is, if you're going to follow Jesus, you can't live like that. You can't just go out here and just do whatever you feel like doing and just live your life and follow the course of the world and walk like everybody else walks. We have to have wisdom. We have to have the mind of Christ. We have to live and think and walk and talk. And here's a good one for you. It's not just the way you walk, talk, act. The way you react. How am I going to react to this? Okay? What am I going to do if somebody does something I don't like? How am I going to react? Okay? So you know what you have to do? Use your mind. You have to have some understanding. You have to think clearly. You have to see clearly. So he's just trying to make this point. And then verse 19, listen to what he says. Who being past feeling have given themselves over to lewdness, to work all uncleanness with greediness. It's really a scary verse when you think about this. They're past feeling. They don't even feel bad about it. You know what you say this sometimes? You say this when you're trying to teach kids how to act, or you say this to somebody. Don't you feel bad about what you did? Don't you feel bad about that? Okay? Your brother's got a bloody nose. Don't you feel bad about that? Do you care?
No, not really.
Right. What the Bible's saying, this is scary. This is scary. People are past feeling. You know what that means? They're numb to it. Don't even feel bad about it. Don't even care. Doesn't bother them. They don't even feel a thing. Okay? This just popped in my head. This is probably a terrible illustration. I don't know. It just popped in my head, so I have to think through it for a minute before I say this. People that I don't like shots. I'll give a puppy a shot all day. I don't want to get a shot myself. But you know people that take shots every day, they get so used to it, it doesn't bother them. Right? You get used to something. Once you get used to it, like you know, I can remember being a kid and trying to swallow a pill. You try to swallow a pill for the first time. It's like, oh my goodness, I can't. Now I swallow it. I took my vitamins a while ago. I swallowed like 7 pills at once. Didn't even bother me. Just throw them all in and swallow. You know what? I've got used to that. I can do that now. It used to bother me. It used to be kind of tricky. You know what happens when you sin a lot? You just get so used to it. You're past feeling. You don't feel a thing. There's a famous story of a mafia hitman who talks about the first time he killed somebody. This is true. I've seen this tape. Listen to him talk about this. First time he killed somebody, he went and puked and threw up and was sick to his stomach and felt terrible. About the 25th time he killed somebody, he'd go eat a cheeseburger right after he did it. You know why? He didn't got used to it. It didn't bother him a bit. You know what happens? This happens all the time. Get practical about it. First time somebody misses church after they've been going for a long time. First time they miss, you know what? Feel bad about it. 2 years ain't been to church, guess what?
Okay.
I sleep like a baby on Sunday morning. It ain't bothering you a bit. It don't bother you a bit. You know what? How many people are there in I'll pick the state of Georgia that are not going to go to church this Sunday, and it ain't going to bother them a bit. I mean, not a bit. They ain't even going to think a thing about it. The Spirit of God convicts people, but you know what you can do? You can harden your heart. And you know what? You say, well, what are you trying to say? What is Paul trying to say? You better not start walking like the world walks. The Bible says, David, hear his voice, not harden your heart. When God convicts you, when God corrects you, you know what you need to do? Respond to it. I've tried this before. It's just like a kid. Kids are easy to preach about. Trying to raise kids. It'll preach, won't it, Melissa? So, I can say this. I did this one time. I don't remember exactly how I did this. So, like if I want my kids to come on and get in the car, how many times do I have to say that? 20, 25 times. And you know what I have to do? I have to keep hollering it and hollering it and hollering it. Get in the car right now. Get in the car right now. If I just sit there and I say, all right, y'all, let's get in the car.
They ain't coming.
They ain't moving. They ain't moving. Why? They're so used to that. They're so used to it. You know what happens in church? People are so used to the preacher talking about stuff, telling them this is what you need to do. You need to forgive somebody. You need to be kind. You need to love the poor. You need to pray. You need to read your Bible. You need to walk with the Lord every day. You need to worship the Lord. You need to give. You need to not be greedy. You need to not be selfish. You know what? People have heard that so much. It's in one ear and out the other. They're past feeling it. They don't feel it anymore. I used to use this illustration all the time. This is a good illustration about Bentley. I don't know. Do you know what story I'm about to tell? When you rode the golf cart with Kaylee Crump. So, do you remember this story? So, he was little, but he would go over to Chad and Christy's house. I don't remember why we were over there, what we were doing. They were riding a golf cart. They had a pink golf cart, and I think Chad was riding them around. It was Bentley and Kaylin on their first date. And he was probably 4 or 5 years old. It wasn't a date. But it backfired. The golf cart backfired. It scared Bentley to death. Do you remember this? You don't remember? It scared you to death. You know what Kaylin did? She laughed. She's laughing. You know why she's laughing? Because she's rode that golf cart so many times. She laughed at that old preacher. Hey, she done heard that. You know what? You know what happened? Somebody came in here and heard that God was filled with wrath toward the world because of their sin, and that God is a righteous judge, and He's angry with the wicked every day. If you don't turn back, He'll sharpen His sword, He'll bend His bow, He prepares deadly weapons. This is in Psalm 7, by the way. I'm not just making this up. Somebody might be alarmed by that. Somebody might not sleep good, but you know what? Most people, they done heard that. Jesus is coming back. God's going to judge the world. You're going to heaven or you're going to hell. You know what people do? Man, they ain't hear that and not even know if they're going to heaven or hell and sleep like a baby. You know why? Because it's old news. That's old news. Same old, same old. And Paul realized this. You know what? They can't feel it anymore. They don't even feel it. You're in a bad spot when you don't feel it. I can get into some more specifics, but I think everybody understands what I'm saying. You better not get numb to your own sin. People, I was going to get on in the chapter. I'll just read you a few things he says. Verse 25, he says, therefore putting away lying, let each of you speak truth with his neighbor. Tell a lie. You know what happens when you tell lies? You tell more lies. You know what happens when you lie? At some point, you get used to it. It don't bother you to lie anymore. In verse 26, he says this is what I was thinking about. Be angry and do not sin. Do not let the sun go down in your wrath. Don't let the sun go down while you're angry. You know what happens after you do that a few times? Just go to bed angry. Stay angry. You know what happens? It becomes a lot easier to do it again. This is the way our marriage is. We just stay mad most of the time. Well, you better feel bad about that. You better feel convicted when things aren't right. I guarantee you God does prick your heart. God does speak to people. But you better not become so used to it that you let it go. And this is what Paul means. He says, you better not start walking like they walk. Just turn your brain off like a zombie. Go through life like, I don't know if is that way zombies look, kids? Looks like a zombie. Walking like a zombie. Just eyes closed, brain turned off, doing whatever you want to do. That's the way the world lives. You better be radically different. I'll tell y'all this little story and I'll be done for the night. King David was a man after God's own heart, the Bible says. God told Saul, I'm looking for a king who's after my own heart. Saul was trying to kill David. David was hiding in a cave. And Saul comes in that cave to use the bathroom. It's a dark cave. Okay? It's not. This is way back in a cave. He was looking for some privacy. And what happened? Old David was in that cave. And Saul got in there. And he was so close to David. David cut a corner off of his robe while he was using the bathroom. Cut a little corner off his robe. He just wanted to show him I could have killed you. And Saul left. Didn't even know David was in there. And then the Bible says, David was grieved in his heart that he had cut a corner off of Saul's robe. He felt bad about it. You know what he thought? I really shouldn't have done that. I messed his robe up. I cut a corner off his robe. I feel bad about that. You know what it just tells me? He was very sensitive to doing something that didn't honor the Lord or that was not really good to somebody else. I shouldn't have cut that person off. I definitely shouldn't have shot him a bird. I should have opened the door for them. See, you say, well, that's little stuff. I'm just telling you this, and I am talking about little stuff. You better pay attention to little stuff and not just get so used to it that you just ignore feeling bad about things. And I didn't sing, I didn't pray today, I didn't say the blessing, we didn't do devotion, we didn't do this. You better feel bad about it. If you don't feel bad about it, you know what you're doing? You just open up a can of worms where you just ignore all kinds of stuff you're doing wrong. You want to feel bad about the little things. Feel it in your heart. I shouldn't have been angry. I shouldn't have reacted like that. I shouldn't have said that. Said that little thing, I shouldn't have said that. That's how a Christian is supposed to live my life. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. I want my words. I want my thoughts. I want my thoughts to honor the Lord in my heart. Then you're getting down, dotting your I's, crossing your T's, minding your P's and Q's, really trying hard to be what the Lord wants you to be. Any other approach, you're walking like the world walks. I don't care. Don't matter. I don't see nothing wrong with it. I don't even feel bad about it. Grandma used to tell me not to do that, but I don't feel bad about it. I don't feel bad about that anymore. A preacher used to say you need to go to church. I don't feel like you need to. I don't feel bad about it. I work hard. But somebody told me that day. We work 6 days a week. We take it easy on Sunday. Church is 10 o'clock. You know, we're not here at 6:30 in the morning. But you know what? You got your excuse. Guess what? Now I don't feel bad about it. Don't feel a thing, because you know why? I worked hard 6 days. I just laid in bed. It's wrong, but you don't feel bad about it. You don't feel it. You're in a bad spot when you don't feel guilty anymore. You're in a bad spot when you don't feel it anymore. You better go back to the Bible, back to your knees. God forgive me. God help me. Do not walk like on the... You know what else? I'll just throw this in there. You know what Paul's really getting at? Don't walk like they walk. Just because they don't feel bad about it, don't mean you shouldn't feel bad about it. Right? See, other people don't care about things. See what's easy to do? They don't care. They don't care. Why would I care? Nobody else cares about that. Why would I care? Nobody else comes to church on Wednesday night. Why should I go? You ought to go. Right? We can't follow just like everybody else follows and walk like everybody else walks. So we have to say, I'm not going to walk like somebody else walks. I'm going to walk like the Lord wants me to walk. And when I get off the path, even a step, I want to feel bad about it. When I don't honor the Lord, whether we eat or drink, whatever we do, to all the glory of God. I want my whole life to honor the Lord. 24/7, 365. I'm not going to walk like they walk. So Paul's giving a warning right there. All right, that's the lesson for tonight. That's good, Ace. Anybody?